Hello, adventurers. Welcome back to the Legend of Kilimanjaro series. We tell a slightly different camera angle because I'm changing it. I've made a couple of changes to the office. Finally got a mount. Finally got a mount for the laptop and all, so it's moved a wee bit. I'm going to buy a monitor because I'm using a TV. Big old 32-inch TV is my second monitor at the moment. Gonna be getting another one. Hopefully an actual PC monitor, so get a nice new monitor over there, and the TV is gonna go down to the kitchen. Wall mount that. Just make the office look a little bit nicer. I need that from the new camera angle and a few different decorations in the background. Yeah, I've got the old. Yeah, so it was Halloween recently. Kind of got my magical weapons on display here. So, yeah, I got a little wand that I got from Harry Potter World and Universal. Got the Batman mask over there just leering in the background. I had that for a couple of years, but I found it for Halloween. Thought, I'm putting that up in the background of a video. And then, of course, this boyo. Yeah, a little sword. I bought that a while ago, and it's been in my videos before, I think. I've had it in, one of them before. It kind of, lives over, just out of the camera. There's a little thing over here on the wall. You sit there, and I was literally just going, I back him, and I was like, hang on a second, that would look really good if it was on the wall. And there it is. I've wall mounted my sword. The hammer, 2 nails. Dunk, dunk. Done and dusted. So, yeah. Nice little upgrades. So, what's the point of today's video? Don't have a session recap. Next session isn't until next week, next Tuesday. I could do a settlement breakdown video. I probably will do one at some point because the party's now in Ventura, next big city. So there'll be a recap video. There'll be a settlement breakdown video coming out of that at some point. But I wanted to come on at the moment and just do a wee talk about world building and how I came up with the story and the settlements and the world name. I'll start with the world name and the continents first. Kilimanjaro, the world, my homebrew world. I don't remember who it was. It is an original idea from me, technically, but it started off as a book idea. It was me and a friend way back in secondary school, or high school if you're American. Oh god, what is it, 12 years ago now? No, at 12 or 13 years ago that was. I just got up and down the bus in school and just sort of sitting talking, and then suddenly I was like, why don't we write a book? We just had ideas to write a book one day. And the idea being that it was going to be like a George R.R. Martin style, different POV chapters. He was going to write one character, and I was going to write the other main character, and these two main characters. I think the story was that they were brothers, separated at birth. They were twins or brothers, but separated at a very young age. His character was going to be what we called a weaver. So in the world of Kilimanjaro, there was weavers and warriors. I found books on this. I don't know where they are right now, but quite a while back I found old notebooks with world maps and sketches and ideas, and I was like, oh dear God, all the memories came flooding back. That's where the name Kilimanjaro came from. So the name came from this story idea. And Kilimanjaro, I believe, was going to be like an island that was hidden at the time. It was an island that was going to be, I think, hidden in the Bermuda Triangle. It's around that time when you learn about the Bermuda Triangle and you go, oh, it's like the what's the word? Reputation, atmosphere of the Bermuda Triangle, of this mysterious place where all these ships and planes disappear. Kilimanjaro was going to be an island that was hidden in the Bermuda Triangle. The idea being that planes and ships went missing because they came into the sphere of influence of Kilimanjaro, where there was magic in the world. So that was the idea behind it. And then, of course, the book. There may have been a chapter or two written, or a few bits written. I think I found a few of them, and it's not great writing. It was okay, but not great stuff. I've got a cold, by the way. I don't know if you can hear that. But yeah. So that's where Kilimanjaro came from, and I found my old notes a while back, at least a year ago, and I was like, holy shit, I have not seen this in so long. And then, about a year ago now-ish, I started playing D&D. I got into it like May 2020. Around April, May 2020, and decided, fuck it, I'm going to play D&D. Bought my dice, player's handbook. See that one? So I got all that. I was going, fuck it, I'm going to get into this. And then I got into it all, and got my DM, who's Lorilla in Legend of Kilimanjaro. He's my DM in the other game. And it was a level 1 start of playing the Frozen 6, starting level 1. I came up with a fighter, dwarg twice orphaned. In the backstory. But, long story short, just kind of got into D&D, chatting away, and I kind of got in with a lot of roleplay stuff, and was messaging Lorilla and Nick, and going, hey, can I do this, all these questions, because I'd never played before. I was like, is this okay? Can I do this? What's the crack? And then at one point, I was talking about a custom subclass. I have since taken back from that, because custom subclasses, yeah, they're a thing. I want to get one done. I had it written down on paper, but I was trying to get it to work on like D&D Beyond, and I just couldn't fathom it. And I was like, fuck it. It's like, I have the idea there, and if I could figure it out, I would put it into D&D Beyond. But it ended up being like a sort of a hybrid of like gunslinger, battlemaster, called swordsman. And I just went for battlemaster because I was just doing it for the maneuvers. I said, we'll do like a battlemaster, but flavor it. So I was kind of talking about this custom subclasses and all this other stuff, and then Nick kind of turned to me and says, "You ever thought about being a dungeon master?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "Maybe you should." That was about a year ago, and here we are. Oh God, Nick, why did you do that to me? Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Oh, that's how I got into being a DM, and I got into D&D through Critical Role. Found it in work. I can't remember. Someone in work might have talked about it, or I just stumbled across it, and I honestly don't remember how. But I just came across it, was like, oh, this is interesting. Started listening to the podcast and got into it. And then I would like listen to the podcast, and then there'll be bits in the podcast that I go, that sounds like a really cool bit. Went onto YouTube, found the videos, and watched that bit back. And then I just started watching the videos, and then realized it was camp. This was about 2018, 2019. It was about 2018 I got into it. So campaign 1, unbeknownst to me, had actually finished. So I watched all of campaign 1, got the one-shots, and started campaign 2. And then May of last year, was still in the midst of campaign 1. I think it was campaign 2. I don't know where it was, but that's when I started playing, because it's kind of going, fuck it, I want to have a go at this. This game sounds really fun. Like, went online, found servers and Reddit, and found people, and here we are. So that's where the world name came from, and that's how I got into D&D. So Kilimanjaro. When I found the old notes, I remember in the notes, it was like there's an ancient language of the gods, which I think was in my head was a little bit Aragon-esque, because the magic system, the magic in Aragon, or the inheritance cycle, the Crystal Blue books from Christopher Polini, magic was based on the words. There was an ancient language that you used for magic. It's a brilliant book series. Please go and read it. I don't think it's on my shelves at the moment. No, it's not there. It's, yeah, trust me, I could fill this room with bookshelves and I wouldn't have enough for all my books. Anyway, in the inheritance cycle, there was like an ancient language that the gods used. And that kind of inspired me a little bit. So Kella Mentura is a single word. You can read it as a single word. But in the story that we were originally going to write, Kella was world of. And Mentura, I think, was gods. So it was Kella Mentura, world of the gods. That's what the Kella Mentura meant. So Kella being world, Mentura gods. That's kind of where I got Mentura from, like the continent and city of Mentura. So Kella Mentura is the world, Mentura is the continent and also the capital city. So world of the gods. That's where the names all come from. And then just honestly, the other city names, I just kind of came up with them like Terran. That sounds like a good name for a military capital. Port Mur, yeah, that's a name. I can't remember the name Mur. I probably read a book or was watching a video and there's somebody called Mur, Moore, and just all these other bits and pieces. And and Fort. What are Fort named? Fort's named after people. Okay, well, named after Fort Titan. There we go. There's a big Titan battle. There you go. This part of the world history just came up with on the fly because I'm trying to think of a cool name for a military fort. And the northern mountains of the ice picks, because that sounds cool. The mountain range in the middle of Mentura is called the Spine. Excuse me. It kind of runs up the middle of it kind of runs along the middle or up the back of the country. There's also just a nod to Paulini as well. The Spine. It's his book. The names. And then there's a couple of and then Brewstock was just. I think I was watching Critical Role at one point and Deastock came up and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna call it Brewstock. I can't remember. It was like, oh, Deastock, stock. Oh, Brewstock. That sounds like a good name. And then of another city, or settlement rather, by the name of Ektorp, Ektorp. That I think was a joke. That started as a joke between me and I think it was Nick as well. I joked with someone at one point about you talk about naming cities and towns or naming things in fantasy, and you either go online and use a fantasy name generator, or I think it was Nick joked, open the IKEA catalog. I think I went onto the IKEA website. The Ektorp is literally from the IKEA website. I'm not joking about that one. Oh, boys and dear. I can't even remember what Ektorp is, but it was like looking at the IKEA catalog and I was like, oh, there's a cool name, Ektorp. And it's a logging town. Yeah, that's how my brain works. And then I'll go. That's kind of Mentura, the sort of the central bits of where the world name comes from, and how I got into it. What else? Oh, and then the Salazan Dynasty. Salazan, I can't remember where that came from. Just one of these random names I came up with one day going, what would be a good name for the dynasty? Because emperors, empresses. Dynasty just sounded right. It was a kingdom. And dynasty just sounded better. And Salazan just came to me. Either that or either it just came to me. I was just going, that's a cool name, Salazan. That. Or I was in a Harry Potter mind space. Salazan, well, Salazar, Slytherin, but Salazan. You can see that's probably where the inspiration came from, actually. Stop locking. Stop it. Things falling over in the background. That's where the dynasty came from. And I also think it's a Critical Role live in the back of my head. The dynasty. Just call something the dynasty. Because why not? in the various towns and other places. The capitals. I don't think I've done a video on those, but I just sit down at one point and go, "Bah, there's all the the names." I think again they were like name generators, or I just was sitting one day going, "Yeah, I'm going to call it this." And actually, one of the settlements of the dynasty, that came about randomly in the episode in a session because of talking with the players, and then met Throom, a Loxodon merchant from the dynasty. And one of the players asked, "Oh, where is he from? Oh, whereabouts is he from in the dynasty?" And it was like, hang on, 404, notes not found, DM is loading. And the player's like, yeah, if normally it was, I can't remember, it was one of the players was like, "Oh yeah, if I can't think of a name, I just kind of think of like a drink, and then pick something like a something place." And I was like, tequila Bay. She's from Tequila Bay because I like tequila, which I spelled Tekuila, Tequila Bay, because why not? So that's where that one came from, and a few other bits and pieces are just randomly named. And then we have the other world power of Ambarino. Well, sorry, the Salazan Dynasty, the continent is called Pangaea. If you know anything about the world history, you know Pangaea was a supercontinent on the Earth at one point. They just thought, Pangaea, that's a cool name. There you go. I have a continent called Pangaea, which is the home of the Salazan Dynasty. That's where that name came from. That's where that name came from. Oh boy. And then, the last world power, the Republic of Ambarino. I was kind of thinking just trying to get a mix of political systems in my world. So the dynasty is a monarchy. Well, there's a monarchy who has various people that she speaks to. But there's a single person at the top, so that's a monarchy. Mintura is led by the council. A collection of noble families that all have mostly equal share. There's some more seniority, you know. There are different. The members of the council have different levels of seniority. You have like earls, dukes, barons, and viscounts. I think it's like baron, viscount, earl, and then duke. But earl and duke have the same level of seniority. Just duke is like an honorary title. That's the difference. So there are different levels of the different, like, in social hierarchy, they have different levels, but on the council, one person, they all have equal say. So, Earl, somebody makes a vote, that's one vote. Earl doesn't count as two votes, is what I'm trying to say there. And it's all noble families, and you either get, your family has to be voted in to the council by people on the council. That's how new families come in. But it just started off with the Primus family. They kind of came over and settled and interacted with other tribes and families and existing power structures and formed the council from that, kind of bringing other senior families. Those senior families are still there. The Primus family, the Bronte family, the Primus, the Primus family, the Bronte family, the Donley family. These legacy families, it's succession based. So it's a succession based polyarchy because there's multiple figureheads. That's how that one works. But it's succession based. You have to get voted in by the families that are there. But when you're in, as long as you don't do anything to disgrace the council or you step down, that's you on the council. So it's succession based. And then the Republic of Ambarino. It's a republic. Republic implies democracy. It is a democratic government, which in my head I have based on the United States. You know, the very early United States, like War of Independence, kind of like War of Independence, Civil War, that type of a U.S. It's like 13 colonies. 13 colonies in the United States. I have 13 territories. You know, Ambarino. And then various a representative from each territory is elected by the people who live in that territory. That forms the government, which is a senate. There is I haven't decided there's a president or not, but there's a senate which rules. So it's in a way kind of like the council. It's a group of individuals that sit down together and make laws, but they're democratically elected. I haven't gone into the weeds on the detail, like how long is a term or anything like that, or how long is an election cycle. I suppose in a world like that, it would need to be fairly long because it would take a long time to even have an election to begin with. If you're talking like high fantasy, sort of medieval worlds, elections take a while. Because how getting ballots out and getting them back and counting, it's kind of a logistical nightmare. But it's fantasy, so you can make these things work. The various territories. I think a number of the territories were just kind of either it was a name generator. I was just sitting going one day, oh, that's a cool name. Or when I was sitting here at my desk, I have a map on the wall over there from a certain cowboy shooter sequel, Red Dead Redemption 2. Looking at the map one day and I thought, literally as I looked up the map, the first thing was like, what am I going to call my place? Looked at the map, Ambarino. There we go, got this. Literally taking it from the map because originality is dead. There's nothing original under the sun. Everything is inspired by something else. So you take names, whatever. But this is just me having the crack. It's my world. I'm having fun. I'm drawing inspiration from various places. And this is where the names will come from and how I do my world building. Is I'll just sort of I'll be sitting either here, working away and doing bits and pieces, and then go, idea, turn, open Google Docs and write 6 pages. Or I'll sit here for 6 hours and write 2 lines. It comes in fits and starts, or I'll be sitting, or I'll be, lying in bed, or I'll be watching TV, and I'll be like, ooh, ideas. Pull up my phone. Make notes. It's just these things that come to me as you get a little burst of inspiration, which you can just go and write something, and then you come back to it, and it lingers in your head. And yeah, it's just really fun. That's how I write, anyway. I'm not sure if that's the same process for other DMs, and they just kind of sit there and then just word vomit. But that's my process. Things just kind of come to me. Sometimes I will sit down and just kind of write, okay, for the Council of Ventura, write down and just try to come up with names for things. And put pieces together. And I'll draw upon references or historical figures to inspire things that I've come up with. For example, the legions of Ventura. The Roman legions is sort of the basis of that. But yeah, I just sort of kind of draw from history and my own experiences and knowledge and people that I know. But I really, really enjoy it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy DMing as much as I do. Running the game is fun. But sitting down and coming up with scenarios and stories and things to drive my players, I really, really, really enjoy that. And then using your player's backstory to write the story as well. I'm not going to say anything about my plot because it's ongoing, but players come in and inspire things and you go, oh, there we go. I was thinking of a name. There we go. I was thinking of a name or who was going to be these people. Oh, there we go. When your players comes in and gives you an idea. Or you look at the backstory and go, oh, there we go. That's a really good idea. I'm going to put that in the plot. And now they're here. That's how I tie their backstory in. And even for like plot hooks, I have a couple of plot hooks written for, one of the players' backstories. I've written a lot. There's an item they're looking for. And I've written a good chunk of stuff. Which is okay, if you want to find this, it's over here. But while you're over here, a lot of other things are going to happen. Other bits to world build and expand. And here's the plot. Here's the main plot coming through. Or they could go in another direction, which is inspired by another player's. The other direction, which is takes into Ektorp, excuse me, was inspired by a player who was leaving at the end of the month. Gonna miss you, Gimme. They're leaving, but that plot hook was kind of driven from their backstory. I kind of took their backstory and tweaked bits and pieces of it and wrote what I think was a pretty good arc. There's a couple of paths they could take through it. But it's going to tie in their backstory, which is going to tie into the plot. I try to tie things together. And then they're going to go off, do bits and pieces. And then if they go down one thing, the other thing's going to happen in the background. They go this way. Trying to tie everything together. They would go off and complete one arc and then come back. And they would hear about something that happened over here. Or they go this way. And the thing that was happening up north, something else has happened. And then just try to how to tie all these things together and tell a cohesive story. There's another player. There's another player who's just kind of a very free spirit. The backstory, there's not much of a backstory. It's more of a bucket list. He knows who he is. Sorry, my ears are clogging up. He's a real fun character to write stuff for, because I can just go, he wants to do this. And I have ideas in the back of my head. And I started to write. I have an idea of an arc that'll take that in a direction, which will again lead back to the plot. You go off and do this quest for this person or this individual and come back and, the plot's advanced in these other directions. And then it's going to get into the plot and some things will be revealed. And then at some point, another player's backstory is going to come into it and it's going to take them somewhere completely different. And just these things come together, and over time they're going to come over and find this and go, all these ideas that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to, because as soon as I start talking, I'm going to spoil everything for my players if they watch this, because this is a long video. If you're still watching this, thank you very much for enjoying my ramblings. But I just kind of wanted to sit down and just ramble and talk about how I create my worlds, what inspired me, what got me into D&D, just how I come up with things. And if anyone out there is thinking about, playing D&D is one thing, but if someone goes, I would love to write my own campaign or my own world, but I don't know where to begin. This is going to sound a little bit cheesy. But start. Just get something down anywhere. I use Google Docs because it's free and it's there. And it helps and it's a good way to keep things managed. Isn't it a Gmail? Isn't it a Google account? Which I think if you have YouTube, you need to have one anyway. So you have Google Docs there. That's what I use. All my notes live on there. Just start writing. You have an idea. Put something down. Just get it on paper and just start writing, because you'll be surprised what comes out of it. Like these plot hooks, for example. I started off writing a plot hook for a player's backstory, which is going to take them off somewhere north. And yes, while they're up there, they're going to get into the backstory, but that's world building. You kind of go, here's a new part of the world. Here's the history for that world. The history for the world leads into the current plot. You're here, this person's here, these things are happening. The person in charge asks you to go off and do X, Y, Z. You do X, Y, and Z. You come back, they're grateful. There's more things going on. All of that, there's one plot, there's one thing they can do that it was an idea, it was an NPC I came up with ages back, like early days when I first started world building. There's an NPC I came up with. I was going, how the hell am I going to introduce this person? How the hell do I introduce them? Oh, that's how I introduced them. Just because you're up north, they were in this area, and then, this person needs to be tracked down. Find them, here they are. But if you want to world build or create or write a story, just write a story. Just sit down and write. And it doesn't have to be perfect the first time. Sit down and sit with it and rewrite and go over it and speak to people and get their opinions. And enjoy yourself and have fun. And this is a very long, rambly video, so I'm going to cut it very soon. Just want to, yeah, I'm going to leave it. I could keep going on, but I'm going to, I've already talked for half an hour about my own world, so yeah. Gonna leave it there. If you're still watching, if you're listening to this at this point even, thanks for sticking with me. But yeah, just my process, how I got into things. But yeah, hope everyone's hope everybody is enjoying themselves, just getting ready for the holidays, and everyone's doing well. Hope you're enjoying the series, and thanks for stopping by, and thanks for watching. And until next time, adventurers. Till next time. See ya.